as Kennedy made more policy changes. I'm Donna Warder.
Americans are paying for the war in Iran with every visit to the gas station, but some of the damage to the U.S. economy is being offset, for now anyway, by big tax refunds and an investment boom driven by artificial intelligence. A good day on Wall Street with the Dow up by 790 points. The Nasdaq rose by 219 with the S&P 500 advancing by 73. Oil near $105 a barrel. More at townhall.com.
Here's something most people don't know. When Warren Buffett was just 13 years old, he didn't put his money into a savings account. While other kids were earning next to nothing at local banks, Buffett put $114 into a little-known investment. Today, that $114 would be worth over $15 million. And it wasn't a risky trade, it wasn't insider knowledge. It was an account that's been around since 1888, and over the last 25 years, it's averaged 29% a year. That's what happens when your money is allowed to compound. Compare that to today's savings account, paying less than 0.5%, while inflation quietly eats away at your buying power. Buffett understood early, banks are great businesses, just not for savers. If you'd like to see what some investors call the 29% account, go now to ask29account.com. That's ask29account.com. Ask29account.com.
Americans will soon have more options when it comes to saving for retirement. Bob Agnew reports.
An order signed by President Trump calls for a new government website where people can find and compare private sector retirement savings accounts. The order is intended to help more people gain access to retirement plans before next year. That's when the federal government will start matching retirement contributions made by lower-income Americans. President Trump said he also wants to get Congress to expand the federal match to those who make more than the current cutoff of $35,500. Bob Agnew reporting.
Amtrak is considering allowing people to store guns in lockboxes on most of its trains, which critics say would weaken security measures that instead should be strengthened in light of the shooting at last weekend's White House Correspondents Association dinner. News and analysis at townhall.com. From Washington, I'm Keith Peters reporting. Boxers from
This program is brought to you in part by Ability Tree Experts. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professionals.
Call 281-441-4179.
Alex Mueller, the Trump-endorsed conservative for Congress. President Trump calls Mueller an America First patriot with the wisdom and courage to defend our country, like she did as a combat-decorated Army officer. Raised to serve, trained to lead, proven when it matters most. Alex Mueller knows jobs, energy, innovation, and American dominance. She'll help Trump keep our streets safe and our border secure. That's why President Trump backs Alex with his complete and total endorsement.
My complete and total endorsement.
Alex Mueller, the battle-tested conservative Texas needs. On May 26th, vote Trump-endorsed Alex Mueller for Congress. Win It Back PAC is responsible for the content of this ad. Paid for by Win It Back PAC. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. WinItBackPAC.com.
My friend Louis Flory and Ability Tree Experts. Spring is here and summer just around the corner, which means it's time to deep root fertilize your trees in addition to spraying for insects and disease. Let Ability Trees help maintain their value and repair all damage. Fed and pruned tree will be less susceptible to wind damage and uprooting. Caring for the beautiful and valuable trees on your property that you can't replace should be done by experts. And the experts I use, it's very clear. It's Ability Tree Experts and Louis Flory, my friend for over 40 years. Gosh, this guy is the pro when it comes to taking care of trees. You know, pruning is important for the health of your trees, and pruning limits resistance to spring storms and allows the sun and fresh air into the canopy. Trees can be in distress several months without showing any signs, so don't wait to protect your investment at 281-441-4179, 281-441-4179, or visit their website at abilitytrees.com. Right now, Ability Trees is giving a deep root feeding with every tree pruned. Ability Trees, Houston's leading tree care professional.
Where should I begin?
Can we talk about this?
Say, what are you trying to say?
Beyond the usual controversial talk,
blah, 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 blah,
Over there. No.
1, 2, cha-cha-cha. 1, 2, cha-cha-cha.
Prepare yourself for Craig.
Okay.
Preparing a mighty new spectacle here.
Articulate, stimulating, hit you right in the... there you go.
We start becoming a team right now.
This is the Craig Collins Show.
Lord Jesus. Oh, Lord, no.
Start talking. Talk fast.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Now your host.
He's a good man.
Craig.
That's right. It is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. Thrilled to be with you. A whole lot of stuff to talk about on a Thursday night. We do have a producer in studio, so you can call us. Producer Phil is here. If you want to be a part of the show, if you want to jump in, you'll hear from him. He'll ask your name and stuff, and then you'll get on hold, and we'll get you on the air. So there is Phil in studio. How you doing, buddy? If you want to jump on. And the other mic. You talking, when you want to talk on the air, the mic in front of you, not that one. Look a little bit up. There it is. That's the one.
How we doing? How we doing? How
Good,
we doing?
Dude. How you doing today?
I'm pretty good. How about yourself?
Traffic is terrible in Houston, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Very.
We were just talking about that after you got here today, that traffic anywhere. It's funny, man. If I have to come to this station anytime after like 9:30 in the morning, it's going to be terrible at some point. And if you have to come during rush hour in the morning too, also awful. There's a sweet window at like 9 to 9:45 where traffic's not that bad.
Shoot, it's still bad, in my opinion. It depends on where you're coming from.
That's
honestly.
true. Yeah. Well, 610 and stuff
Yeah,
is where it's terrible.
I-10
Right? Yeah.
West.
And you're not from here, right?
No, I'm from the Bahamas.
Yeah, we talked about that last time. I'm also not from here. There's a learning curve of the traffic here, and then trying to find any way to go around it. My wife, she has a joke that her family always finds like a different path to go. So she'll call it her maiden name, the Arriaga path for anything. And she'll be like, I found it. This is the path. We need to go that path anytime to get anywhere we're going to avoid 610 and all the crappy roads.
Man, to avoid any of these highways around rush hours,
dude.
Great.
I'll get you connected with the missus, and she'll tell you all the secret paths because she learns them very quickly. All right, cool. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, like I said. Is that now? That's my mic. You're the first mic. You're mic 1. That's for you. Yeah, there you go. I can't control that. That's a new thing. Yes, I can only control the on-off button in here. All right, let's do this. Let's play some audio. We have audio of Jesse Waters. He said that he dropped a gun violence joke to the Queen while the Queen and King of England were visiting us, and Jesse Waters said he immediately got torn away from the group that he was with because the gun violence joke, not okay. Out of the Queen. Apparently, he did not pass that test. Let's go ahead and play that audio, but I thought that was pretty interesting, that some jokes not allowed.
What did you think about the King?
He was nice. I predicted exactly what the conversation was. I go to Elaine, I go, okay, 10-1. Trump looks at Charles and goes, here, this guy, he's great. He's got the #1 show late night. You'll love him. And I walk in and Trump goes, there he is. He's got the #1 show late night. And Charles like, oh, do you? Where is this late show that you talk about? And I go, it's on Fox. I go, I see, it's on Fox. Very good.
Did you tell him you lived in the UK?
No, I didn't. You don't have that kind of time with him. And then I took off with Camilla.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
To the roof.
Yeah, just to horse around.
Okay, and that's why he won't be invited back.
Look at those pictures. I asked everybody else at it because I wanted to hear the boys talk about it. But you got something you want to say? Did you see the speech?
You guys look so. I did. I loved his speech so much. I love.
Yeah, I like that they're talking about that. That's actually, of course, Greg Gutfeld talking more about his jokes that he was making. Jesse Waters did eventually say that he was taken away from that moment. Here, actually, let's go ahead and turn this over, and we'll get back to it in just a second. But Jesse Waters eventually complained that some jokes were allowed, some jokes were not allowed around the Queen. And I do think that's kind of funny. I assume the reason why that might legitimately happen, where like you say something and it doesn't go as well as maybe you're hoping it would go, is just they don't want to respond to it at all because that might be news to them. Here, let's play that part of the audio.
How is the King, Jesse?
So these are your wives, right?
We do the walkthrough where you do the introduction, and then King had no idea who I was. And so I said, I'm on Fox, and I have 2 shows. And he goes, well, they must really love you here. I said, yes. And so we go down, and there's the Queen. And I said, well, how was the beehive? And she goes, it was very good. No one got stung. And then I said, well, in Washington, D.C., if the bees don't get you, the guns will.
You said that to the queen?
And then this woman just starts pulling me away from the queen.
That is classic Jesse.
I don't know what I was saying.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I'm not a huge fan of the king and queen. Like, I don't dislike them. I just don't really care. It's not something that's ever made me really excited to talk about. But I do find that funny, that if you make the wrong joke to one of the royals with their handlers in front of them or the handlers around them, that they're going to yank you, that they're going to pull you away, as far away as possible. And again, I assume that's because the media machine that is what it is in the UK, anything that those people say, they might find it in the news the very next day. So maybe they protect their speech that much. Like, there's no joking. There's no offhanded comments that get made to them in those settings because they're just not able to even go back and forth with you. They'll just immediately put a sock in your mouth and pull you into some other room. Another piece of audio I want to play, this is President Trump calling into Newsmax. He was talking about Jimmy Kimmel. Both the president and the first lady have called for the firing of Jimmy Kimmel over some of the jokes that he made that don't really seem like jokes, to be honest, but I do think this audio is pretty interesting of the president calling into cable television and saying again why he thinks that Kimmel really shouldn't be on TV.
Jimmy Kimmel has apologized. Is it a good apology? Do you accept the apology?
I haven't heard him apologize, but he's a lowlife, whether he apologized or not. He's a lowlife. He always has been. He shouldn't be on television. I don't know how a guy can be on television where the network gets free airwaves from the United States government and spend 100% of his time knocking Republicans and conservatives and Trump, 100% of his time. It's not supposed to work that way, you know, equal time provisions, et cetera, not supposed to work that way. But he's not a funny guy. He's got no ratings, and I don't understand how he can be on air. I think ABC is putting themselves in great jeopardy, actually. You know, they've already paid me $16 million. George Slopadopoulos said things that were untrue, and they had to pay me $16 million. So this is very serious what's going on.
I like that there's a phone call that's happening during the tail end of that. I don't know if that's on the president's end or is someone in the studio. If it's someone at Newsmax, they're probably going to get punched during a break for letting their phone go off. But anyway, the thing that I think is interesting about this, so people will say that Jimmy Kimmel has the right to say whatever he wants, that he can say and do anything. It doesn't matter. You should, let him utilize his First Amendment right to speak his mind. However, and this is just from a business standpoint, because I do think you don't need to pull him off the air and say that he's committed some kind of crime. Whatever the thing is he's saying and the jokes he's making, I don't think it makes sense to say that his show is illegal somehow. However, just from like a business standpoint or a cost analysis and a profit analysis standpoint, it can't possibly be good for the company to have some content, most of the content on that show is Trump jokes, be so one-sided that half of the United States won't pay attention. They won't watch it. I've talked about this before, about late-night TV. It can't be a good business model to say that we have a political opinion at all. It doesn't mean that they have to go on the air tomorrow and sound like they're pro-Trump all of a sudden. I don't think that's what any conservative is asking for. If they say that these television shows, these late-night shows, should try a little harder to do what the shows in the past did. You just don't need the jokes to be so obviously one-sided all the time and occasionally sound like you wouldn't be all that sad if Trump got shot, because that is what the Jimmy Kimmel joke sounded like. When he was joking about Melania looking like a widow, it seemed that Jimmy was pretty okay with / a fan of the idea that Trump died. However he died, and Kimmel claimed it was just because he's older, but still, like it makes no sense to me for that to be the business model of the show to begin with, and they've learned this lesson multiple times, and it doesn't seem to matter. No matter how many times they see, ratings go down and down and down because they're no longer capable of reaching the entirety of the audience. I'll say it this way, and then I'll move on, because I do talk about this a lot. I just think about Michael Jordan all the time. Out of Chicago, big fan of MJ. Michael Jordan said Republicans buy shoes too. So whenever he was asked a political question, especially when he was a relevant athlete playing in the NBA before he became the businessman that he is now, anytime he was asked, like, what do you think of this political topic, MJ pleaded the fifth. He was like, I would rather not talk about it because I want Democrats and Republicans to buy my shoes. And for a long time, that was acceptable. Now, some think that if you don't have a political opinion, that means that you're going to lose support from people on a certain side of the aisle, whatever side that might be, the left more than the right. And that's just, it's so strange that people demand to know your politics sometimes now. All right, I want to play Whoopi Goldberg's audio. Whoopi was talking about the Voter Rights Act. Of course, maybe many people out there know that the Senate changed the way in which this act is used to, I think, more actually, accurately reflect the design of the Voters' Right Act itself. The Voters' Right Act was not something that was put into place to allow Democrats to build certain voter blocks that were just made up of minorities so that minorities would have a disproportionate opinion in some places and, get more Democrats elected. That was essentially the way that Democrats used it, is they would carve out these blocks that had almost no white people in them. And that's not the design. The design is to protect everybody's right to vote, no matter what you look like. I don't care if you're white, black. I don't care if you're Hispanic. None of that matters. If you want to vote, you should have every right to do it. But we shouldn't carve out blocks and districts that look different than the people who live within a perfect square. The truth is that we should really just do cookie-cutter squares throughout every state as best we can to be as fair as possible and see how people elect their representatives when we don't have these weird squiggly lines drawn all over the place. But Whoopi started talking about why the Voters Act was put in place in the first place, how people were treated years ago. She references how dogs were used to prevent people from voting. None of these things are true in today's society, and none of these things have been true for a while. So even if you say that at some point in our history, some of these things might be accurate, they're not the current version or state of events or affairs in our country. It would be viral news if somebody did something awful like the things she's saying, and people would be very much outraged, no matter what you looked like, demanding that this change. So it's crazy to use this as an example to say this is why we need these rights to still be what the current politicians are interpreting them to be, so that we keep getting these ridiculous blocks of voters that vote overwhelmingly for one side. They don't care about the rights of someone based on what they look like. Democrats care that they think certain people will vote for them, so they try to find as many districts carved out with people that will vote for them as possible. They're not actually, defending people's freedoms in any way. They're selfishly trying to get themselves elected. But here, let's play this audio of Whoopi and some of the people on The View reacting to her extreme stance on why she thinks the Voter Right Act still needs to be used the way that she claims it needs to be used.
Another problem. We make laws to fix problems. We put the Voting Rights Act together because there was an issue, because they were keeping people from voting. Right. They were literally shooting people. They were running them down with dogs to keep them from voting. Okay, let's start with that. So when they say that problem is gone, it's not gone.
It is gone.
Because you're still doing it.
We're not.
You're still doing it. And what I don't understand is,
this is insane, actually. There's no one that's using a dog on a minority to try to prevent them from voting somewhere and attacking people and shooting people the way she's saying. If that were happening anywhere in this country, here in Houston or literally anywhere in the country, it would be plastered across the news. And it would deservingly be plastered across the news, by the way. It would be a thing people would want to know about, and people would be outraged. There'd be marches in the streets. All of these things would be easily demonstrated to be wrong. That's how I know it's not happening. People are not being attacked by a political side of the aisle. This is the straw man version of an argument all the time that people use to say, we need to do this, we need to do that. This is literally insane. And again, if the actual use of the Voters' Rights Act today was to protect people from being incapable of voting, then we would see that in action and it would be fine. I don't think any conservative would have a problem with that. But what they're actually doing with this act, as I said, is they're carving out these unique voting blocks where they think that Democrats will win races because they assume that Democrats, or at least minority people, will vote Democratic. So that's the assumption. That's the game plan. So you carve out this block. You find how to put, this neighborhood and that neighborhood into it, and then you think you've had another Democratic seat. That's the thing that conservatives are fighting, and the Supreme Court decided was actually inherently racist. You can't build a voting block because you think that any minority or even majority group. You can't build a voting block because you think we need a voting block of white people. That's not how that works. That's not how it should work. People within a community should be allowed to vote. Everyone should be allowed to vote, of course. If someone were stopped from voting the way that Whoopi said, we'd have to stop that. That would be obviously wrong and illegal. But beyond that, the rest of this conversation is just sort of ridiculous. And to be honest, and here's the thing I've said before we take a break, it's emotional manipulation. There are people who believe that some horrible, terrible Republican voter and or Republican politician wants to kill black people who vote in elections because of what Whoopi said. Whoopi said people are getting shot and dogs are being used to hurt people. That's not true. But someone who watches The View and listens to Whoopi will be like, well, it sounds like that's true to me. Whoever they are. And I'm not saying that the viewer looks a certain way. This can be a white woman that watches this and gets outraged and says, that's wrong, that's terrible, how dare that be happening? And it's not happening. So it becomes emotional manipulation to try to win an argument based on anything other than logic and fact. And that's where we have a problem all the time in discussing these ideas. Because the appropriate response back to this discussion is it's not happening. And then she'll say, it is happening. And you'll say, prove it. Show me where. Show me one news story where someone was attacked who was trying to vote somewhere. Find one article about that and see if someone somewhere wasn't eventually given whatever justice they deserved if that did happen. Again, if it ever occurred in our society as a whole would fix that problem because we'd all be able to see that it's wrong. It's not something that's actually being used for the purposes they're claiming, and that's the only way to make the argument on the left to say why it still needs to be used the way it's being used. Even though it's benefiting Democrats, you have to claim it's for some other reason. Again, a reason they don't care about. Democrats only care about winning elections. Republicans only care about winning elections. They don't actually care about, the makeup of their constituents in the sense of they're not fighting to make sure everybody's rights are secure. They're fighting to make sure that they're in places of power, in positions of power in political office. All right, we'll take a break. A lot coming up. This is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas.
I'm Tommy Mello with Garage Door Doctors. My mom recently moved into a new home with a builder-grade garage door. Noisy, flimsy, and not built to last, so we're fixing that. Mom, you're my hero. When I was growing up, she worked 3 jobs just to save our house.
And helped you build this company.
Now I'm giving her a beautiful new garage door that's built to last. The garage is 40% of your home's curb appeal. When it looks good and it works great.
Life is good. Thanks, Tommy.
From repairs to upgrades, call Garage Door Doctor today.
This is Kevin O'Hara with O'Hara & Company Real Estate. Our country's founding fathers drafted a document that is the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. My friends at O'Hara & Company Real Estate, we believe we're at a precipice in time where we must take back our country. We must stand up for our freedoms or lose them forever. Please don't sit idle and let it slip away. Don't let anyone force you to do something you choose not to. As JFK said, if not us, who? If not now, when? If you're looking to buy or sell real estate, give O'Hara & Company Real Estate a call at 281-373-3393, 281-373-3393, or look us up on the web at o'harare.com. I'm Kevin O'Hara. God bless America, and God bless Texas.
Match is back here in the Mac Z-Cliner. I'm recovering from surgery thanks in large part to this miracle chair, the Mac Z-Cliner. You can sit in it, you can recline in it, you can watch TV in it, you can eat in it, you can sleep in it. It goes to zero gravity position. The Mac Z-Cliner helped me recover. It also has heat and massage, a place to charge your cell phone. Come out to Gallery Furniture, buy a Mac Z-Cliner before your surgery. Gallery Furniture delivers tonight, or after your surgery, Gallery Furniture delivers tonight, and you'll sit and sleep great tonight.
You know, where we go in life matters, and what we do matters, and we know that taking the wrong road won't produce the best outcomes. Hi, I'm Kathy with Baker Mortgage. And we want you to take the right path when it comes to your mortgage. You know, we live in a world of information overload, but always consider the source. And these are not generally going to be from your big bank or a random offer that comes across your screen. Remember, you're always going to get a better deal on one that you go looking for than one that comes looking for you. You need to deal with somebody who gives a you-know-what, whether or not you're happy in the end. At Baker Mortgage, we do it right. We haven't been around for 68 years because we're lucky. We don't sell CDs, insurance, or anything else. We just provide a great mortgage experience. Isn't that what you're looking for? Call us at Baker Mortgage. I promise you'll be glad you did. We're at 281-313-MOVE or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender. License number 263213.
Steve Witkoff told me on this show is that the United States offered Iran to give them enriched uranium so that for medical and powerful purposes, free, if they would give up their nuclear program. Wouldn't cost them a dime, and they declined that, which to me suggested that they really didn't want a deal.
Well, and maybe it wasn't a very serious offer, because I wouldn't have approved that. I wouldn't have. I'm not giving them anything. I wouldn't have approved that. They're going to either have a nuclear weapon or they're not. And if they're not, they're in big trouble. Big. Even bigger than they are right now. And right now their economy is collapsing. Inflation's at close to 100%. Their equivalent of our dollar is non-existent. I mean, it's literally non-existent.
This is an interesting conversation. It's the Craig Collins Show, KSCV, KGBC, the Voice of Texas. You can call in. You'll talk to producer Phil if you want to jump on the phone and be a part of the show. We do have somebody here that answers the phones now, which is awesome. So let's talk about that. The first part of that question is a reference to somebody else, not President Trump, somebody else in the administration claiming that we have offered some semblance of nuclear power to Iran without them actually being able to do it themselves, enrich uranium and have what could potentially become nuclear weapons themselves. Trump says no, that's not an offer. We're not going to do that. But what's really interesting is that even in that world where that were potentially offered, which I don't think it should be, I think that many presidents, not just Trump, many before him, I've played audio of Obama saying this before, played audio of Biden when he was more lucid as a senator saying this before. Iran can't be trusted. And the threat of Iran is too large. It's too significant. You need to find a way to end that threat long term. And the long-term end is to stop them from having access to what would inevitably be nuclear weapons. That's exactly what the game is, and that's how you go about it. So as Trump said there a moment ago, no version of that is okay with us, and they need to accept the situation they're in. What he means by that, to me, what the conversation is there is the United States can create a blockade that lasts forever. We can stay in the waters near Iran, close down the ports of Iran with our Navy for as long as necessary, which is the slow version of crippling their economy, the slow version of causing them to eventually come to that moment where they say, yeah, we actually do have to do whatever it is the United States is asking us to do to get back to the version of our day-to-day operations that we were used to, which doesn't include access to any sort of nuclear weapons or any sort of uranium enrichment, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that this is the long play. And if you believed, like many people did, that President Trump didn't want to be in this fight for that long, then some of the threats he made on social media were designed to be the short play version of a thing. Immediately go back to striking and blowing up parts of the infrastructure of the country. We didn't do that. We didn't wind up going that road. A lot of people were upset about the idea of it. And so now we have what can be a longer form conflict because you're just waiting out this power that thinks they're more powerful than they are and keeps showing up at the negotiating table with offers that make no sense to the United States. And so I'm not happy that this is a longer conflict than what it could have been, but I do think this is the more humanitarian, as odd as it is to say, way to go about this, because you're not striking any sort of other facilities inside Iran, at least not yet. You're not trying to damage their ability to, say, have food and water within their country. You're just stopping them from doing oil trade business beyond their own borders, which will be a problem. This will cause issues and has caused issues for them already. So you'd think that we're any day away from the actual deal being made that benefits the United States long term. that does cause them to prevent the largest sponsor of terror in the world. Iran cuts checks to all the terrorist organizations. It stops them from doing that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. One last piece of audio, one last Trump clip to play. This was just crapping all over news media. So let's go ahead and play that.
I see in that stupid CNN, which I only watch because you have to watch a little bit of the enemy. So I watch it for a very short period. But you have to be smart. And if you see CNN, you think they're winning the war. If you read the New York Times, it's actually seditious, in my opinion. You read the New York Times, you actually think they're winning the war. I read some of these columnists, but it's all starts from the top. It's a terrible thing. So we're negotiating with them, and they read how well they're doing, and they're sitting in a cave, and all their leaders are dead. Everyone's dead around them. Missiles are all over the place. They have no Navy, they have no Air Force, they have no nothing. We can fly right over the middle of Tehran without being shot at because they have no anti-aircraft. They have nothing. And they're reading that they're winning the war. They're trying to figure it out.
Do you know why this actually matters? It doesn't matter exactly for the reason, not that Trump's wrong, but it doesn't matter for the reason that he's saying. What I think is most important about this is how the enemy, in this case Iran, interprets the likelihood of one of their deals to be accepted by the United States. This was the same PR messaging campaign that you saw Hamas play when it was fighting as a terrorist organization. Hamas is a known terrorist organization in the country, in the world, not something that Trump determined about them, something that others determined about that group like Obama before Trump. But nonetheless, they called them a terrorist group, and they saw that they were winning some of these PR battles. So Hamas kept doing some of the things they shouldn't have been doing because they thought, hey, at some point, maybe the United States press will convince United States leadership to back off, to give us some version of whatever we think we could get, some version of, the deal that doesn't actually benefit the United States. That's why this stuff matters. That's why, again, the way that press actually covers the ongoing conflict between the U.S. and Iran is important, especially if they're being disingenuous and dishonest about it, and they're doing that because they hate somebody, because they think that Trump's a terrible, horrible, awful person, so everything he does has to be terrible and awful, and everything that anybody else does has to be great, et cetera, et cetera. This is where people often say it seems as though some of these political groups are actually cheering against the United States and the U.S.'s, beliefs or their desires. And it's very, very odd to me that that's a way that they go about it. All right, let's play one other thing. I do want to take one more break, but let's play this too. This is Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, talking about the mantra that you would hear dripping from the lips of the generals, et cetera, et cetera. I thought this was pretty good, so let's go ahead and play this.
I haven't talked about it as much in these hearings because this is a budget hearing about $1.5 trillion that's historic and significant. But underwriting the change that we've seen in our department was a laser focus on getting back to basics. And the key word to that is merit. We had a department that was obsessed with gender, ideology, and race, diversity, equity, and inclusion. In fact, the mantra you would hear dripping from the lips of generals and with a serious look on their face was, "Our diversity is our strength," which is the single dumbest phrase in military history. Of course, our diversity is not our strength. Our unity is our strength, our shared purpose, the flag we wear, and the Constitution we serve to defend. And when you clear that debris away, whether it's Marxist ideologies or social engineering or political correctness or quotas based on gender and diversity, you get the best of the best rising up, regardless of gender, regardless of race, motivated by that environment where merit reigns. It's accountability, standards, lethality, readiness, training, all the debris wiped away.
Yeah, I love that he says all the debris wiped away at the end there. And I love something else he says, because I remember a lot of times seeing videos of people like Charlie Kirk having the same argument on college campuses with young college students who are talking about DEI and saying how great it is, that it's some creation that benefits people. And the argument back, the argument that's coming from the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, here is race shouldn't matter. Sex shouldn't matter. None of these things should be important. The only thing that should matter, especially if you want to serve in our military, is are you capable? Are you somebody that can pass all the different standard tests that are necessary in order to be within our military, physical and or otherwise. If you can pass all those, great. You're in. You're a part of the group. The group no longer needs to talk about how you're different. The group can talk about how you're the same, how you're all serving the same country, how you're all working toward the same goals with the same purpose. It doesn't matter. And one of my favorite things about this topic, too, is whenever I think about the times that I've talked to veterans, and we do a segment every Friday called Veteran Voices. You'll hear it at 6:30 here. Different veterans jump on and talk about whatever. I tell them that they get the floor for half an hour to do whatever they want with it. And I love doing that segment every Friday. But when you talk to vets, I remember that all of them would make these crazy jokes with each other. They would be, sexist, racist jokes. You'd have a black military guy making a joke with a white military guy. And I'd be standing there on the side like, man, our society doesn't make those jokes between people that are not within the military. And the military guys, who all look different, or women, would all say, this is how we get beyond these topics. This is how we get to the stuff that actually matters, the stuff where we want to fight and protect this country. We don't care about that other stuff. It doesn't matter to us. It's not important. It's not part of the mission. The mission is very simple. The mission statement is very simple. Serve and protect your country. We don't care what people look like. We don't care where they come from. We just care if they want to do that job with us and protect us as we protect them, et cetera, et cetera. And that's really all the argument is on that side is let's create a situation or a world, a society, whatever you want to call it, where everybody's got the same shot, same chance, and you don't cause any version of anyone to be thought of differently based on anything other than their qualifications. A merit-based society. And oftentimes you hear people on the other side get mad at that. And you have to sit there and think to yourself, like, why would they be mad at the idea that all that matters is merit? You're not trying to secretly say, I want people to matter based on this race instead of that race, or this sex instead of that sex. You're saying very plainly, I want all of that to be at the wayside and not matter at all. And people who support these things, like DEI, and especially forcing it into our military, say something very different. They highlight all the time the idea that it has to be about race. It has to be about this. And I've actually said this. Oh, don't put them on the air. I've said this before about this topic, too, because I remember it cleanly when Ketanji Brown Jackson, she is the black female Supreme Court justice, was being nominated as a Supreme Court justice. And Biden was saying in interviews he needed to find a black woman. And I kept thinking to myself, if you're Ketanji Brown Jackson, however good or bad you think she is as a Supreme Court justice, I don't think you want to hear that. I don't think you want to hear the reason that Biden is looking to find you and nominate you to the Supreme Court is that you're a black woman. I think you want to hear you're a great, a lawyer or a great judge or a great whatever you need to be a Supreme Court justice, and it's irrelevant what you look like. It's like the black male NASA astronaut who just flew around the moon. And every time they asked him what he thought about being someone who broke some sort of a race ceiling, he was like, I don't really care about that. I'd rather talk about the collective work we're all doing as people who are flying around the moon for NASA so then other astronauts can land on the moon. It's not really my focus. It's more your focus. I just think that's so interesting how often that becomes the talking point for the people who then inevitably, try to get the attaboy for doing something that shouldn't be done for the reasons they're saying they're doing it. Caller, what's your name? We gonna call
you
it?
there?
Yep, I'm here. Is this Bart in Spring?
Yes.
Hey, what do you want to say, Bart?
I told Phil, I really think that Todd Blanche is doing a great job as the AG.
Yeah, me too.
And his indictments may turn around a lot of these polls, because if he keeps exposing just how corrupt so much this Medicaid and the Southern Poverty Law Center and stuff like that,
sure,
the stuff that Pam Bondi didn't do, all she kept doing is wallowing in the Epstein quagmire.
Yeah.
I really think that's going to boost Trump's chances in the Republicans.
Let me ask you this, Bart, because one of the things that Blanche has done is he indicted, well, he had a grand jury, so it's not him, but a grand jury indicted Comey, and that might not actually win in a courtroom when it gets tried. Comey's 86-47 thing might not actually cause him to go to jail. Do you care about that? Do you like the indictment, even if the indictment doesn't lead to the inevitable charges? If a jury finds him innocent of, calling for someone to harm Trump?
I don't really care about him putting their stupid seashells there.
Sure.
You know, I don't matter how much Jasmine Crockett and they'll say, "Oh, I've never heard any Democrat wish any harm or any violence to any."
And they're lying.
I mean, it just exposes how stupid those comments are.
Sure.
But that's Jasmine Crockett,
Sure.
and go ahead and try him for this, but. What they should have got him for was leaking to the New York Times classified information.
Sure.
That's a felony.
Yeah. No, I thank you for the call, Bart. The reason I was asking that question, though, is I'm curious if people, because Bart's comment was about how potentially likely these indictments are to impact people voting in the midterm elections. If you're trying to hold people responsible, and if inevitably in the courtroom, after the whole process goes, you don't win, it doesn't work, you don't get Comey behind bars, is the effort enough? That's kind of the question I'm asking and the curiosity I have, because I think it is. To answer my question myself, I think going through the effort, they indicted one of the people closest to Anthony Fauci, Dr. Anthony Fauci, for what he admitted was deleting a whole bunch of emails he shouldn't have deleted. That is a bad thing, a thing you're not allowed to do. In a government role, you're not supposed to use a private email and delete things and be trained by people above you like Dr. Fauci to delete stuff. None of that, that's all bad. So I think the effort itself was the thing that a lot of people were calling for that they weren't seeing. And I think that if inevitably a jury in a courtroom somewhere finds these people innocent of the charges that a different jury chose to indict them over, then the blame shifts. This is a weird thing to say politically, but it no longer makes people blame people like Pam Bondi for not trying. Blanche is trying. You can't guarantee that effort will actually cause people to be thrown in the hoosegow. So I think that matters. And some people say that this is political prosecution or that, is obviously stretching thin whatever the definition is of what they think a call for harm is. Just taking a photo of seashells that he arranged himself to say what they said. He didn't stumble upon them. And for him to claim that it just means he wanted Trump out of office, not off of the planet, or, out of the world, all of that becomes secondary, I think, for voters to the fact that someone actually tried to hold people accountable. It was the lack of effort that I think was the thing that was making so many people mad, and something that I do think no longer exists, at least in the short term. But who knows? Maybe if a whole lot of these cases are tried and a whole lot of people are found to be innocent, you eventually blame the administration again. And you don't blame whoever the person is that you think is responsible, or the jury of people for the decision to go one way or the other. All right, we'll take another break. We'll come back and we'll do some lighter stuff. We do close every show with non-news stuff. We call them palate cleansers. I stole it from one of the national shows I fill in on. But we'll do the quick 4-ish segment after this. This is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas.
If you have roof problems, you can sure see them when it rains. This is Deb Tejada from Tejas Roofing. If you see a leak, call me immediately, 281-251-0304. I'll send over the Tejas Roof Repair truck.
That truck has everything our experienced crew needs to fix your roof, right then and there.
The Tejas Roofing crew has been working together fixing leaky roofs for 15 years.
It's not a pretty truck, but it has everything we need to get the job done. I kind of like the way it looks.
Most roofing repairs cost less than $500. Why? Because we find the cause of the leak and repair that leak. We won't try to sell you services you don't need.
And we'll fix it right away because everything we need is in our truck.
Don't put off fixing a leaky roof. Call me at Tejas Roofing and I'll send over the truck. 281-251-0304. When you think of roofing repairs or a new roof, think Tejas Roofing, your Houston roofing company. 281-251-0304. That's Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit information kit. 800-909-9696. 800-909-9696.
A breast cancer diagnosis can turn your world upside down. But your Houston Methodist team assures you they'll use the latest cancer research and technologies, collaborating to treat and remove the tumor and reconstruct your breasts, restoring symmetry, sensation, and your sense of self. That's the difference between practicing medicine and leading it for you. Houston Methodist, leading medicine.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Usually they happen on the weekends, holidays, or while you're away on vacation. I'm Richard Sod, president of Nick's Plumbing. When you find yourself facing a plumbing emergency, call the licensed and experienced professionals at Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services. Nick's Plumbing has been Houston's first choice for all your plumbing needs since 1979. Our experts can take your most difficult plumbing issues and fix them fast, fix them right, and usually for less than you'd expect. Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services is the right choice for any plumbing job, from a leaky faucet, whole house repipe, or a complete sewer line replacement. You can count on Nick's Plumbing to do the job right. With over 40 years in business and over 150,000 satisfied customers, Nick's wants to be your plumbing company. Nick's Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nicksplumbing.com.
NPL 38548.
Call Nick's Plumbing today. We're on the way.
This is the Craig Collins Show, KSCV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. It's time for our quick four-ish segment. These are sillier topics, less serious things that I like to talk about because they're more fun. There is a TikTok trend for creating a food product that people call the fart salad. I actually have audio from someone on TikTok explaining this. This is trying to maximize the amount of fiber you put inside your salad to inevitably make you more regular. Let's play a little bit of this audio.
This recipe is designed to maximize the stench and volume of your farts. Overboil your eggs for 12 to 14 minutes. Oligosaccharides are the carbs that cause farts in baked beans. Avoid rinsing your beans or it'll rinse away the farts. Artichokes are best served straight from the can. Cut up your red onions and let them sit for 30 minutes to maximize the sulfur compounds. Stir in some chia seeds for added fiber. Finally, mix everything with mayo and hot sauce.
Yeah, that last part sounds interesting. Mayo and hot sauce to make things as horrible as possible, I imagine there. You know what's funny about this? A girl I dated in high school was very proud when she went on something called Juice Plus, which was a pill she took. And every time she took the pill, it made her more regular. And so then there were moments where things would happen where this woman would fart around me as a young man, an 18-year-old man dating an 18-year-old woman. And I'd be like, it's odd that you're so proud of this. But she was very happy about it. Apparently, a whole lot of people are now doing this on TikTok via the fart salad. They're very thrilled. So that's fine. Whatever you do to be healthy, that sounds great to me and to anyone else out there. It probably caused some odd conversations at some point, at least early on, in, say, some relationships. Another story out there that I saw that I thought was kind of funny. Experts have joined the debate on which way is the appropriate way to face while taking a shower. People are asking if you should face at the shower head or away from it with your back to it. Some experts are saying that you actually should be looking at it the entire time. I don't know why this became a debate at all. I don't know why people on social media needed to decide what was appropriate, which direction they thought was more valuable, facing toward it or away from it. I also think that you change as you go. If I'm actually trying to add my own opinion to the debate, I don't know if producer Phil wants to be in on this discussion at all, what way you actually face the shower. I think it changes. I think you're like rotating, someone said, like a rotisserie chicken as you're showering, and you're going to face both directions at some point. You don't have to be one way the entire time. What do you think? Do you want to weigh in?
It really just all depends on your preference, for real. I mean, different strokes for different folks at the end of the day, but I feel as though it's really your preference, honestly.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a right way to shower?
Nah.
Okay. I also don't. A lot of people on the internet seem to think that there's a right way to shower. And as I said, some of the experts, especially on TikTok, I use experts loosely when I say experts, are saying that you should mostly face toward the shower the entire time you're doing that. And I don't know exactly what the benefit for that is, but some are saying that you don't want to dry out your skin in certain areas of the body, and facing toward the shower might make you choose when the water hits you, when it misses you, when you're soaping up, etc. It's very odd that people would dive this deep on it. But again, I don't think it matters one way or the other, and I think most of us actually do wind up doing a little bit of both.
Nah, I agree. Yeah, it really doesn't matter, honestly. And like you said, both of us, we actually do end up doing a little bit of both at the end of the day. So
I just love that people debate this stuff, man. That people get out. There's somebody out there like, no, you're only supposed to face forward. And then somebody out there is like, how dare you? You're only supposed to face the other way.
Yeah, how you tell me how to shower?
Yeah.
That's my personal time.
Exactly. Although, I don't know, man. I've made this joke a lot of times before. I try very hard in a radio show with a certain size audience, and somebody out there who's telling you how to shower has millions of views, and they're making a bunch of money off of it. So there seems to be some value in our current society to the guy who's out there like, you should only do it facing forward. And then all the people who get mad and yell at him because he made a bunch of money on that video he put up on the internet.
Yeah, it's real interesting to think about it. Like,
yeah.
It's a real interesting topic if you really
Yeah,
think
like the
about
cat videos that make people a bunch of money. And it's just somebody's cat being a moron.
Yeah, someone cat being a moron,
Yeah.
like invisible strings holding up the cat paws,
Right,
doing a bunch
yeah.
of different dances. It's insane.
There's people who crush social media putting those things up there, and they're so happy about them.
Trying to go viral.
By the way, my mother texted me about the fart salads, which I think is a weird sentence that I just said on the radio. She said, TikTok things are weird. Girls now fart loudly and proudly in school. My mom's a teacher. It's kind of gross. I agree. That sounds kind of gross.
It is.
Yeah. I don't know why they do that. I don't know why anybody does that. It wasn't cool when guys did it. You know, like there were people that made fun of you if you tried to turn your fart into a joke in front of a group. I think farts are funny, but to turn it into a joke in front of people, I don't think it made you the coolest guy in the classroom.
Yeah, nowadays people just do things to go viral, man.
Yeah, they
They're
just do
trying
things to be an idiot.
attention. Yeah,
Yes.
that too.
Yes.
Exactly. Just trying to get the public attention. It's just all fun.
Yes, it is. I saw this. The most surprising baby name trends in the U.S. right now is also a story that went viral. Maverick is a name that people are choosing a lot more. It is now more popular than even the name Thomas, which I thought was interesting. I don't know if that means a lot of people just like Top Gun Maverick. They just really liked that second movie. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, that was a great movie,
Yeah,
actually. Yeah,
yeah,
I really
Tom
enjoyed
Cruise
it.
was great in that one, yes.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And at the end of the movie was like, you're still the best pilot. So you just have to be a pilot doing the mission. You're not going to teach us. You're going to actually fly it because you're still better than everybody else.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's all that is. Genesis is a more popular name than Sophie on this list. And then Nova is now a more popular name than Grace. And one last one, this one's kind of weird, Halo. And I think this is probably because of a video game, is now a more popular name than Honey. People are choosing to name their kid Halo quite often currently in our society. I don't think I'd ever name a kid after a video game.
It's a risk, yeah.
Okay.
It's definitely not the best move to make, honestly.
Right.
Like, it's so much.
You're gonna have some here. I'll tell you this. I thought this was funny. My brother, when he had his third child, so not first kid, not second kid, it was third kid, which I think to my brother matters. I don't know if it'll matter to you or anybody listening. By the third kid, he proposed a name from the X-Men. He was like, "What about Xavier for Professor Charles Xavier?" And the mistake he made, man, is he told the wife that he wanted to name his child after an X-Men. If he had just thrown Xavier out there and not said where it came from, he'd probably have a young kid named Xavier right now today. But because he told her its origin was a cartoon and a comic book, the missus was like, we're not doing that. We're not doing any version of that. How dare you say that? And I remember when he called me, he's like, man, Xavier got shot down. And I told him the whole reason is you shouldn't have said why you wanted to do it. That's all she had a problem with.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Right.
Xavier is a pretty...
Yeah, it's a normal name.
Yeah, it's a normal name
Yeah.
until you explain why. Yeah,
Right.
like you said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's not common. You don't meet a lot of Xaviers. I don't think you've met a lot of Xaviers, have you?
Nah.
No, okay, no. And a lot of people obviously know it's probably a reference to a character in the X-Men, but maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, you have to know the X-Men to
Yeah.
understand it. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, you can't tell the missus the thing that is going to most upset her, or you definitely will lose. Just pretend you didn't realize that. When eventually your kid is named Xavier and someone brings up the comic book, be like, huh, is that true? I had no idea. One last one out there for sillier stuff that I like. People are debating whether or not they have a, quote, low-effort family. A low-effort family is one that might not have as much drama or yelling in it because you got a lot of people that don't really try that hard to talk to each other. They do talk to each other. This is a family that still communicates. But by and large, they see each other during the holidays. They text only so often. They're in each other's lives, but it's not with a high level of effort. Some people are saying this is a good way to have a family. A, quote, low-effort family. You get together, you have fun, you treat each other nicely, but you don't do any of that stuff that might get back to you because you're around each other all the time. I find that kind of funny. that people would say the best way to handle family members is to create a little bit more distance. I don't think it's true for every family. I think for a lot of families this isn't true, but you're not going to fight with people that you say you care about if you're not talking to them that much. There is some logic to this statement, but some people online are advocating for the, quote, low-effort family. What do you think of that?
I would respectfully disagree. I mean, it doesn't fit.
It doesn't fit for you?
It doesn't fit for me.
Your family's pretty close?
Yeah, they're pretty close.
Yeah.
We have family reunions all the time. We get together every 2 weeks or so.
Every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because you guys all live around each other.
Exactly.
Well, that's good. That's important. I do not live anywhere near any of my family. So one of the excuses I'd have to not go to a lot of the events is they all live up north and I'm the only one that lives south. But I will say this, like you probably have, and maybe not you, Phil, but people listening, like an aunt or uncle that you only see so often and you kind of like them a lot because you don't see them that much, you don't talk to them that much. I think some people are trying to emulate that relationship with people a little bit closer to you, people in your immediate family, because there is a relaxed nature in that sort of thing. Like, I'm here if you need me. If something's bad, if something's going on, please feel free to reach out to me. But if you're not talking all the time, and maybe if you were fighting a lot for whatever reason with people in your family, the not talking is solving the fighting. So that might be a way to go. It's probably not the best way to go. The best way to go would be addressing whatever the thing is that's causing people to fight and then trying to fix it so you're not fighting anymore. But if you have to go option A or option B, maybe for some people some reason people are doing this because it's just easier, and you're still there if you need me. Like, it's actually, I immediately thought of, it's the Captain America Iron Man relationship after one of the movies where Captain America's like, look, we just fought each other, but if you need me, I'm there.
Yeah.
So they're saying that that's something as opposed to nothing, and something's better than nothing.
I could see that point of view.
Yeah.
I can honestly see that point of view. It's understandable in that aspect. When you explain it like that, yeah, it's
Sure.
definitely understandable.
Hey, this is not how I feel. I'm not. This is not me. This is the Huffington Post and just people online debating this and saying these sort of things. But I do think that that's interesting. That, and maybe low effort family actually just means that you don't react too strongly to anything. Maybe you do spend a lot of time together. But because I've been in, I have relationships in my family where, and my wife does, like the assumption that we care about each other is obvious. So you never have to debate anything like that. Like, you never have to be in any of these fights. Nothing anybody says ever gets to the point where it really makes somebody mad, because at the end of the day, you know, we both care about each other. We both love each other. You know, we both would do whatever for each other. So at the end of the day, that's not in jeopardy. The rest of the stuff doesn't matter. Maybe there's a low effort that way, where it's just like some of the things that might make us fight don't, because we just ignore them. We don't make them a bigger deal.
Yeah, in that regard, yeah, y'all basically have a common ground. So it's like low effort and thinking like, hey, maybe they don't mess with each other. Hey, maybe they have like internal issues going on. No, it's just a regular disagreement, and we pretty much probably gonna get over it in the next couple minutes. So it's just a disagreement. I mean,
the reason I'm kind of advocating for this is different than what the internet people are doing. I realize that my brother and I have had a long-standing rule of not buying each other stuff. For his birthday, I don't buy him anything. For my birthday, he doesn't buy me anything. And for Christmas, we don't buy anything for each other. It's been going on for so many years that we even make jokes sometimes that I bought something for myself and that was his gift to me. But it makes it so easy because, like, you see this person for the holidays and you're like, yeah, man, I didn't debate what to get you. I just got you nothing. I see you. I care about you. That part matters. The purchasing of an item for each other, not so important. So I've loved that. It's just me and him. Nobody else in the family can handle this. But for years now, we've had if you don't buy me anything, I don't buy you anything. We're both happier.
Well, I could see that aspect. I mean, it's a neutral agreement.
Yeah. It's exactly. You got to hit that button up there for the ID, because we got to get out of here. That's the show. That's it. It's over. Talk to you guys tomorrow. The Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas.
You're listening to the voice of Texas, AM 700 KSEV.